So when we're going throughout our lives, it can be really easy to get caught on the rat race or the conveyor belt of life and just continue to focus on goals and work and doing what we need to do to be able to get to that next step. And this is not inherently a problem whatsoever, but I find that it can become one when that's all that we focus on, when we've kind of lost the balance in our life and we're just focusing on those endless goals that we have in front of us. And so today we're going to be talking about that, breaking down when it is a problem, what we can do about it, and why it actually is helpful to be able to do something about it and try to live our life in a way with a little bit more balance. So what does it mean to be in this state? Like I mentioned, it's not having a balance. It's only focusing on work or tasks that we have to get done. And it's not intentionally appreciating the things that we have going on or trying to carve out time for ourselves. Another way to look at it is that we're always prioritizing future goals instead of prioritizing the current day or the current moment that we're having. When we do this, what happens is that we've kind of put ourselves in this place where we're never going to appreciate the here and now, that it's always future goals, that it's never, you know what, I do have some things that I need to get done, but this is what I want to do today that is just inherently pleasurable for me. It's almost like having a pie chart where almost all of it is working and focusing on goals, where there's maybe a little tiny sliver of doing something just for you, but that it is basically all filled with maybe sleep and work, those two big ones. So why do we get into this place? To try to be able to understand yourselves a little bit more, it's helpful to ask yourself that, like, what got me here? And for me, I came up with 3 big reasons or influences that can really get us stuck here in this rat race. So the first one is that we grew up in a family who really prioritized working and accomplishments and didn't prioritize a balance, did not emphasize a balance in your life with friends and family and doing activities that you just like to do, that it was all about accomplishments and work. Which again, I don't think is a bad thing inherently to emphasize accomplishments and work. But if that's all that's there, then you're not being instilled with balance. You're being instilled with just one facet of life. Now, a second really common one is that we grew up in a family where there wasn't a lot of money, that money was a struggle, that maybe both parents, or if you were in a single family household, that parent had to work a lot of different jobs and had to scrape just to be able to get by. A lot of the times this instills within us that you really can't enjoy your life, that you have to continue working, that you have to continue focusing on surviving and just getting to the next week, and that there's no room to really enjoy your life. And I think for a lot of people, it's 2 different pieces. One of them is that it's just not natural to focus on enjoying your day to day. But I think for a lot of people, especially that grew up in those environments, it's also having the thought that if I enjoy my day to day, that's setting myself up for failure. So I really shouldn't enjoy my life on a day to day basis, that's actually putting me in danger of some bad outcome, even if that's not necessarily true. And then the third one is that we're just caught up with our life. We didn't grow up in a family that instilled a lack of balance for us. It's just difficult. I mean, when we get into a situation where we have a full-time job, or maybe you own your own business, so you have to work a lot of hours, or you have some kids in a home that you have to take care of, it can be really easy to get into that trap of just focusing on those goals and not prioritizing your day-to-day. And so what are the benefits of having more of a balance in your life? Again, it might sound like a stupid question, but I think it's helpful to make it a little bit more tangible. So the first one that comes to mind for me is that you're able to still work hard, but you're just adding on enjoying your day-to-day. And so again, balance does not mean just focus on your day-to-day and throw work and all your responsibilities out the window. That's not what I'm saying whatsoever. It's more of a balance, that you can still work hard, but take some intentional time to think about, like, what do I appreciate about my life? What do I enjoy about my life? Or do I need to add something in to feel like I can enjoy it a little bit more? And with that, it's also being able to get some fulfillment from something outside of goals. And so, like I said earlier in the video, that for a lot of us, if we're stuck in this conveyor belt, then the pride that we feel from our life might only come from goals that we achieve and not day-to-day things that we're just enjoying. And so this allows you to do both again, that you can still feel that pride, feel that accomplishment from reaching your goals, but you can also enjoy other things that don't necessarily have a goal. You can just do something that's for your own pleasure and has no end game and still feel good about that, as well as all of the things that you can accomplish. And number two is that your relationships can really improve when you try to enjoy more of the present moment or your day-to-day. Now, I think for a lot of people, they would say, well, I'm doing all of these things for my family, for my relationships. But I think the thing that they're missing a lot of the times is that they're not there on the day-to-day basis. Maybe they're working really hard to be able to provide for a family, something like that, but they're not taking those moments in the day-to-day to actually build those relationships and actually enjoy each other. And so when you have more of a balance, again, it's still being able to do the things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis that you really want to keep doing, but it's adding in building those relationships in that day-to-day, emotionally speaking, mentally speaking, where you're taking a few minutes out to be able to have a conversation with them instead of only focused on work and kind of disregarding whether it's your spouse or your kids or friends and family. It's being able to lean into those relationships so that you can have a balance, so you can have the best of both worlds. Now, third, enjoying your life more on a day-to-day basis can actually lead to less burnout and can make you more efficient at work. I mean, if you take one person where they're working all of the time, they don't really have any enjoyment for themselves, that is just grinding and grinding, they're so much more likely to get to a place of burnout or just feel like they are in that rat race, to feel like they are on that conveyor belt. Whereas you take another person who does have more of a balance, they can still work really hard, but if they're taking out that intentional time to enjoy their life on a day-to-day basis, then that burnout is not going to be there nearly as much because, again, they're taking some of that recuperation time. They're taking some of the time to kind of re-energize themselves so that they can go back into work even more efficient than they would have if they were just focusing on grinding. And then finally, having a balance helps you mitigate future regret that you might have if you're just focusing on work. That's actually one of the most common regrets that older people have, that they spent too much time on work and not enough time on their own personal hobbies or their relationships around them. So doing something like this, I mean, this is much more long-term, but it's being able to mitigate that regret that I don't think anyone would want to have as they get to an older age. And so how do you create more of a balance? So a question I'd really like you to ask yourself is, if I did have more of a balance, what would I appreciate more from my life? Like, what is already there that I feel like I could appreciate if I spent a little bit more time being intentional, really trying to look out for the things that I appreciate? Like, what would those things be that might already be there? And then to be able to ask yourself, what else could I add in? Like, is there anything that comes to mind, whether it's hobbies, whether it's spending quality time with significant other or kids, family, friends? What could I add that would make my day-to-day a little bit more enjoyable or something to look forward to? Then try to figure out if you have any resistance to making this happen. So is there any fear that others are going to judge you? Is there any fear that your partner is going to maybe criticize you if you spend a little bit more time on just enjoying your life? And is there any feeling that, well, if I do try to intentionally enjoy my life, there's something bad that's going to happen to me? Whether that is something specific that comes into your mind, like if I enjoy my life, my work is going to take a really big hit and I'm going to get fired or I'm going to lose business and we won't be able to pay our mortgage, something like that? Or is there more of just a general vague sense that something bad is going to happen? So think about any resistance that might come up for you when thinking about appreciating things a little bit more. Then, what would it look like to appreciate your life more? I mean, is that just a daily gratitude list that you write? Is that spending more time with your family and friends? Is that spending more time in your hobbies? Whatever it looks like, try to do more of that. It doesn't have to be anything big or crazy. It doesn't mean that you have to go on these luxurious vacations or go out to these fancy restaurants. Again, it could be as simple as, you know, when I wake up in the morning, there's a certain type of coffee that I really like, and so I'm going to make myself that, even if it maybe is a couple dollars more at the grocery store, something along those lines. It could be that. It could be, we need to have a date night once every other week because that's something that I really look forward to, or I just need some alone time when I get home from work to do whatever, whether it's just sit and watch some TV or listen to some music or just sit in peace. Whatever it is, try to do more of those things. So an exercise that you can do is create a pie chart of your life. You can do one for how your life is right now, and then you can do another pie chart for how you would want your life to be. And again, we're not talking about crazy shifts. We're not going from, okay, I'm working 60 hours a week, and so I want to work 20 hours a week. I mean, ideally, sure, but we can still be realistic with things. Maybe it's, okay, I still need to work 60 hours a week, but you know what? I'm gonna intentionally carve out this time during a day, during a weekend, during the whole week to be able to take just for myself, because that's what I need to be able to look forward to something, to be able to enjoy the day-to-day along with still working really hard. So as I'll say 1,000 times, this is a lot easier said than done, but I hope it helps for you to be able to take stock of where you're at right now. And if there is room, if it would be helpful for you to be able to appreciate your life a little bit more. It can be really easy to get onto this conveyor belt unintentionally, that we're not necessarily thinking about doing it, that it just happens. But it does take a lot of conscious effort to be able to get off that conveyor belt and to be able to live your life in a way that is sustainable, but also enjoyable, so that, like we're talking about, you can strike that balance. So thank you for watching. I hope this helped. If you're someone where you need more of a balance, or maybe you know someone who needs a little bit more balance, you can send over to them. But thank you again for watching. You can click here to be able to watch my most recent video, and I will see everyone in the next video. Have a great day.